Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Today my wife and I are going to try and do a playthrough of Virus. This video will show you how to set up the game. We're going to set it up for 2 players. It is a variable setup for each different player count, so make sure to look at the rules if you're playing with a different player count. We'll show you how to set it up with 2 players. I do also want to just give a quick shout out to my wife. This is one of the first games she has read all the rules and helped me understand them. So tried to, yeah. But it was really helpful because I was having the hardest time getting through these rules. So can't guarantee we're going to do everything right, but we'll at least show you the gist of the game, see if it's something you guys like. But if you want to just jump right to the playthrough and you don't really care about setup, feel free to just check out the video below in the playlist. Otherwise, let's get going. First thing that we're going to do is you set up how hard you want the game to be. There's easy, medium, and hard. We're going to play on easy. It's just, we're going to have a hard enough time on easy. We want to be able to show you the game, not just die right away. Next thing you want to do is you want to set up your starting tile and then place tiles out on either side and one in front on above it right here. The only caveat is it can't be a lab and it can't be a close-ended tile. So let's see what Monica pulls out. Nice. We got a red. And we got a red. And that doesn't work. And that's a lab. There we go. Awesome. Cool. So, well, this will be our starting area. We would put each of our meeples in this location for a starting area. Now, we are videoing this overhead, and all of the enemies look very similar to the heroes. So we're going to play with pawns. So I'm going to be black, and Monica's going to be this peach color. That way you should be able to tell the difference between us and the enemies. This game's kind of cool. It comes with a multi-use deck. This deck is on one side is going to be our events. During the game we'll have events take place, but on the other side it shows the setup map for the beginning of the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle this up, and we're going to pick one of these to determine how we want to set up our board. So we're going to use this one, number 8 apparently. And if you look at this, sorry, bad angle. If you look at this red spot is where the welcome tile is going to be, and then the 2 exit tiles. And are they called exit tiles? Okay, the 2 exit tiles are going to be here and here, and we're going to have to set those up. And during the game, we'll have to, each of us, both Monica and I, step on these tiles at the same time, and then run back here after we figure out where the serum is within this lab.
So just so you know, we're going to be playing the game this way. So our starting tile is going to be on this side of the
Thanks, Mom. Yeah. So here we have the 5 different types of tiles that you're going to see in the game. The first one is, you'll see here that has a +1 on it. That is only for the enemies. If they ever go through this room, they get an additional movement. There'll be some that have a +1 and some that might even have a +3. Ouch. Here, these are really important. These are lab tiles. You have to get 3 lab tiles and have these little corner pieces adjacent to each other in 3 different rooms to be able to draw a clue card. The clue card is going to help us figure out where the serum is within the lab. This is called a net room. When you go into here, you place one of your action cubes in here, and you would get to draw 2, right? Is it 2? Even though it shows 3 here? That's really weird. Okay. You only get to draw 2 additional rooms, but it's outside of the normal 8 you get each round, and you have those for lane as well. Over here you have the hospital or first aid. You can heal deep wounds, and then we're going to cheat and play that you can also heal regular wounds. Apparently, at least based on our reading of the rules, there's no way to heal regular wounds, but we're going to play that way. Here we have ammunition. If you lay one of your action cubes in here, you get to draw 3 bullet cubes.
And just another note, for any of these 3 special rooms, they can take 3 actions per round. So between the 2 of us, we can use the room 3 times in 1 round.
So I could lay 3 action cubes here, and I could heal 3 wounds if I want it. Or lay 3 here, and I would get to draw 6 additional rooms. Or Monica could do 1 and I do 2. We'd have to, of course, be in that room. So when you set up the game, depending on the amount of players, you're going to pull out a certain amount of these tiles. These special tiles will all be shuffled in with just regular tiles, and you'll pull out a random amount of these tiles. But then you have a specific amount of lab tiles that you'll also randomly pull out. And that'll just be different per player count, so just make sure to check the rulebook for that. So here we have the player board. This is quite useful in the game. You'll be using this area for battles. That's really all you're going to use this main area for. Down here it tells you the cost of different resources that you can purchase, or different tokens. They call them tokens, right? Mm-hmm. Different tokens that you can purchase. And also for these two they tell you your starting value. So you're going to start with stamina of 3 and knowledge of 8. And what that means is every round you're going to recover 3 action cubes. And these action cubes are how you're going to move around the board and whatnot. You can purchase additional stamina for $8 or 8 resources. This knowledge tells you how many rooms you have available to you to place as you're searching the lab. And once again, you can buy more knowledge to then have more rooms available to you. You also just can simply buy a bullet. Bullet only costs $2 and it's gray, and that's just going to help you when you're doing fights. You have here, you can buy luck, and this luck will either help you, you can -1 creature movement, which is pretty cool. Shields are going to help you with battling. You won't have to take a wound. This, what do they call it, a stamina token? Or no, not stamina. That's what stamina. This is
adrenaline.
Adrenaline. Sorry, this adrenaline token. You get to immediately grab 7 more action cubes. But here's the catch: at the end of the round, you have to take a wound, and any leftover action cubes you didn't use, you lose. Bummer. Here we have bombs. Bombs you can purchase, and when you leave that room, they become active. And any hero or any creature that moves into that room, all the bombs will detonate, and they do 1 point of damage each. And then you can also buy 3 different types of barriers. So you can buy a door that you can close. That's $7. Yeah, and they've got these really cool looking 3D wall things. You can also buy a breach where you bust the wall down, and you can also buy. And this is a barrier, right? This is called a barrier.
This one's the barrier.
Yep.
That's a door.
Okay, that's a door. This is a barrier. And you can get more barriers and place them in here to make it harder for monsters to get through and get at you.
Each one of these little barrier pieces counts as 2 hit points. So it can prevent enemies with up. So 1 can prevent 2 enemies, essentially.
You also have up here all the different enemy types. I'm not going to go through them all right now. We'll explain them as we're playing. There are 4 basic and 4 leaders. You also here have a really nice game phase playthrough, and this is game phase information. That's really important. We'll be utilizing this all the time to determine what we do at certain points. Lastly, you have over here, this is where you will take your normal wounds, and then if you take a deep wound, because that means every round you'll take an additional wound, you'll place your deep wound here. And I should mention over here, if ever you play this game where someone can get infected, we're not going to play that way. If either of us dies, we're just going to be done. But if someone dies and it turns out they're infected, they can come back as a boss and then try and defeat the other player. So then you can have PvP, so player versus player, and you have to dodge and all of that. We're not going to get into any of that. Here are the 3 decks of cards that we're going to use. This is the wound deck. Now, how this works is kind of cool. If you take a wound, you're going to draw the top card from the wound deck and then look at the next card underneath it. If it has an icon over here, it's like a heart, that means you took a deep wound. This one doesn't have one. Let's see if one of these, oh, here we go. This one, you see that? That means that if I had taken that wound, it would be a deep wound. And with it being a deep wound, I would take an additional wound at the end of each round. We have 8 health since we're playing on easy. The thing that is silly is the board doesn't even show that you have 8 health. So how you're going to track that is you just count the wounds that you have and then compare that to the 8. Whenever we get 3 lab tiles adjacent to each other, we get to draw a clue. And depending upon the clues we get, it might take getting a couple clues or maybe just 1 clue until we can figure out where that serum is. These clues are kind of cool because each one is going to be a little bit different. So like this one is telling us the serum is in a room that has no doors except for one, and that's it. It could have monsters in it, it couldn't, it just tells us that. If there's more than one of those on our board that we've made, then we don't know exactly where it is. We have to find another clue. But if there's only one of these rooms, well then we found where the serum is.
So essentially you have to keep drawing clues until you find a unique location to place the antidote.
And this is great. You see how these two are contradictory? This one says there's only one door. This one says there's 4 doors. So if you drew this one, you just discard it and draw a new one. So, okay, so now this means that it has to be, the serum has to be in a room, a single room with only one entry, and it's in these rows. Cool. Okay, so that's how the clues work, and we'll shuffle these up. Lastly, you have the event cards. And these event cards, there are, let's see, oh, come on. Okay, there we go. There's 2 different types right here. At the beginning of each round, except for the first round, we'll draw one of these. If there is a trap icon here, then each of us will have to draw one of the room tiles from the top of the room tile deck and place it.
It's totally not.
Yeah, here we go.
Sorry.
And place it upside down. So you see these arrows? That's going to mean that it's a trap and something happens in there. For this one, it just means that monsters, if they go through there, they get 4 movement. That's terrible. But there's a ton of different ones. Like this one is lasers. So if you go in there, you take a point of damage, right? If there's lasers. There's one that's gas. And you know what? Monsters also are affected by that. So if you can place one correctly adjacent to you, you have to when you have this trap. Otherwise, if they don't have a trap, nothing happens. And you just read the event, and then you're set for that round. So, well, that will be the event deck over here. Here we go. So we have set up the board. We have used this card to show us where we have our 2 exit tiles. Now, technically, this card should be shuffled back into here, but we think that's silly because sometimes, you know, it's hard to figure out exactly where they're supposed to go, and we like to have this to remember, okay, it's 3 up and 4 over, and whatever. There's enough events in here. We'll just leave that one out, so to help us with that. We have all of our available tokens. Now, just so you know, the availability of tokens, all dependent upon player count. So there might be more than, there will be more of these if you have more players. Same thing with the enemies. So you're going to choose 5 of each type of enemy for the 2-player game, and then 4 bosses, so 1 of each type of boss or leader. But that is totally different with larger player counts, or smaller because you can play this solo. 8 rooms that are available to you that each of us has, that's our knowledge, we start out with 10 action cubes and 10 bullets, and then we'll have some action cubes in the supply that we can get during the each round. Remember, the goal of this game is to find this serum. That's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to find that by obtaining clues. Once we obtain the appropriate clues, we have to go grab the serum. We each have to take an action in the same round and drop an action cube on these exit tiles to open the door here at the welcome mat, and then we have to run back into the welcome mat, and we have a total of 9 rounds to do that. 8 of them will have events. The first one won't. Other than that, the only other thing I want to mention is that these tiles that we have in front of us for the first round just cannot have any of those lab tiles. After the first round, we can have lab tiles, and we'll just draw from the top of this stack. Other than that, I think that's all we have for setup. We're ready to play the game. Hope you guys enjoy, and please let us know if you know of any sort of rules that we're doing wrong. We'll try and do everything right, but the rule book was difficult to get through, to say the least. So thank you guys so much for watching, and hope you enjoy.